Hey, coming up on today's podcast, episode 164, we're going to talk about are parts from eBay, Amazon, any good for your vehicle? We're also going to talk about Mazda kind of rebadging themselves a little bit. We got a famous supplier of seats in the industry that got some bad news about those guys. Tesla is all frunked up. We'll get into that. And Chrysler. Could this be the death of Chrysler? Could be. We're going to get into some aggressive driving habits that are not so fun to be part of. Anyway, all of that coming up on today's podcast right after this. Everybody, welcome into the podcast. Say hello to my good friend, Keith. Hello, Keith. How are you, sir?
What's up, everybody? I know. It's impossible for me to fix that. So for you guys that are listening only, you won't know what we're referring to, but the software that we use always brings me in on the wrong side. Jay pointed out in the last podcast, which hasn't, well, by the time you listen to this, it'll air, but that you have your side of the bed, right, Jay? And I'm showing up on the wrong side.
That's a factor, man. That's a factor.
So what's happening, guys? We're back. We had a little bit of a hiatus for some, like, I don't know, all kinds of stuff. And I mean, not like the Jimmy Kimmel taking all summer off thing that he does, but
I was a traveling man.
You were all over the country.
Yep.
Carolinas, Florida.
Yeah, humidity.
We're going to be doing some more traveling
soon. I was in the humidity
soon.
zone. Yeah. I actually lost, I think, around 12, 15 pounds during those 3 weeks that I spent with my dad. Hey, Dad, I hope you're enjoying that new front porch we built for you. I only mixed 33 80-pound bags of concrete by hand and dug the trenches for that concrete to go in, and then we laid about 800 brick. Then we framed it. Then we decked it. Nice porch. That's what you have in the South, man. Right? You got to have a front porch in the South, man.
I think so.
It's a must, especially when you're looking at, like, live oaks with Spanish moss hanging from them and stuff like that. The low country of South Carolina. Beautiful part of the world.
So, for those of you guys that are new to this program, what, Jay?
Nothing.
What? Okay. For those of you that are new, this is the Counter Show, everybody. We are Jay's holding up his Ask Me About My Podcast shirt that he's wearing. We are a vehicle-centric,
automotive-centric.
Notice that I didn't say car.
You didn't
right?
say car.
Because there are other kinds of vehicles. But we talk about all kinds of things, kind of like you would at a parts counter. We have a video version of this over on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/parts counter gurus. And you can see Jay's shirt if you were watching the podcast.
And let me say this real quick. Everybody, please pay attention to this. We are content creators, and we're only able to do this by the revenue streams that we have. And I'm telling you, if you want to contribute to that by not spending a dime, watch our podcast on YouTube. Okay? Just watch the podcast, and that helps us. Like it, comment, subscribe, whole 9 yards. Same thing on the audio podcast. Yes.
Jay, did you guys have any podcasts going while you were working on that concrete?
Actually, I did.
Okay.
I did.
What about on the drive to Florida? I know your dad listens, so it's not like you had to show up to make him listen.
Actually, I did. I listened to our AI Chronicles podcast that's also on our channel, Keith, which you can tell people what that's all about if you'd like to.
It's a different sort of podcast. You'll never guess the topic. It's artificial intelligence. I just went ahead and, from the title AI Chronicles, you may not.
I thought it was
be able to. If you're one of those that jockeys the left lane, you may not figure it out. But we'll get into that in a minute.
We're gonna get into that, yes.
So it's more technology centric, and it's all things relevant in AI pop culture. We get into the good and the bad and the ugly. Some hot discussion topics over there. So you can find that on our website also. The website is partscounterguru.com. And by the way, if you're watching this on video format, there's a little QR code.
Yep.
Right there. Take you to the website. You can hit this. We're also on all the major podcast platforms. So if you go over to our website, you can find links to those. And like Jay said, you don't have to spend anything to support the show if you just watch it in the video format.
It helps us. It helps us.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys very much.
One other thing while we're talking about kind of what's been shaken, we've got an Overland Expo coming up, and it's going to be in Colorado. Jay and I are going to be there, and that is at the end of August. Jay, is it like the 23rd, 24th?
It is the 23rd, 24th, and I think the last day is the 25th. That's a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday, and that is in Loveland, Colorado, as you just stated.
Yep.
We got some exciting things that'll be coming down with that. We hope to be. We're going to have two of our brand partners there, which we can throw their names out right now. Intrepid Camp Gear. Go check them out. You can go to our website, by the way, if you want to shop. There might just happen to be some codes there to get some discounts there. Same with Space Trailers. So we're going to have more of our partners represented there in other forms. May not necessarily be at the show, but their products being in usage. And if that is the case, we're going to bring that up and point that out to you guys. So that Overland Expo is a great show if you're into getting off-grid, off-road. It's the show of shows as far as what brands you're going to see there and some of the new stuff coming down the pike. So I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. It's our first one. So,
and I'm sure we'll announce this if we do it, but there's a good chance we might live stream something. There'll be tons of content for sure. Will we be live? Maybe.
I'm gonna go.
We'll see.
I'm gonna err on the side of that's probably gonna happen. So I got strange feelings. Ooh boy. So we talk about a lot of things on this particular podcast, and like Keith,
we do.
Yes,
I've noticed.
Like Keith was saying,
you don't say
this particular
Jay.
show. Man, we're kind of all over the place, and we should probably get into that. So, I'm just assuming that we're okay with rolling down the list as I've. Right,
roll on,
right,
roll
right.
on, my man.
So guys, we know you're always out there looking for the best price on product for your vehicle, right? If you're going to upgrade it, or let's just say you've got a part that you went to the dealership and you priced it out and it cost $180, but then you plugged in that OEM number on Amazon or eBay and it pops up and it's only like $32, right? You should be careful. You should be very, very careful and be very aware, because there are what they call knockoffs out there, and it could cost you a ton of money. Yep. You definitely don't want to be reaching out to old Fred.
Well,
I mean, unless you
honestly,
want to, have some ripple. If you want some Ripple, there you go.
So I might prefer junkyard parts than some of what we're talking about here. Yeah. So we got a story here. This guy, this was a GM. Let's see.
It's a Silverado, wasn't it?
Yeah, bought it used. It's a truck. The guy, I mean, in general, this is my problem with buying used because people jack around with stuff and then don't disclose it, and it'll run fine for 10 minutes, and then and
I've got some horror stories for you, man. Where and I me, Keith, right? So my business, what I do for a living is I research and develop components for the aftermarket, right? And when I do that, our goal is to develop that component to be equal to or better than what the original equipment product was. Not everybody has the same philosophy, because when you start screaming that the price is too high, well, there's going to be somebody listening to that and go, we can make that for you. We can make it that cheap. What are they leaving out, though, right? And not all aftermarket components are ideal. We've had a podcast about that. Not a podcast, but there's a video on our YouTube channel that we physically go into some stores. We make phone calls. When is it right to buy an OEM product? When is it okay to buy something in the aftermarket? This is a different situation, because what you're finding is fly-by-night companies that are getting onto some of these online sellers' websites and claiming that they are a direct replacement, and they end up can end up causing some damage to your vehicle.
Yeah, and man, the rate at which some of these, and a lot of them are out of a certain country in a certain part of the world in Asia, the rate at which they can spin up a company and manufacture the parts and then be gone. It's like in and out, and the damage that happens to some of these vehicles. So what in this particular story, the mechanic, basically the guy took it to
because
a
it
mechanic,
was having
and the
trouble.
Guy
he bought the part.
Yeah.
It was a transmission valve, and it was a Silverado, by the way. We were correct, 2018 Silverado, and had erratic shifting, and not actually staying engaged in certain cases. And when the mechanic pulled it off, the first thing he noticed, there was no etching, no writing on the part, which that is a red flag. Then he proceeded to kind of tear the valve down a little bit, and he realized that where there is a spring, there's a spring there, but it is the type of material that was used to develop the spring. At a certain temperature, it yields. And so that is why it is so important to understand your source when it comes to components like this, because there's some stuff out there that will work under certain conditions, but once they get it past a certain point, you're in trouble. And that was the case with this guy. So the mechanic basically found out, dude, you got a counterfeit part here. It's not. It looks a lot like a duck on the outside, but when you start peeling the feathers away, it is not a duck. So
I'm going to try to do this for this whole episode, but I think I have a solution. So if you guys are listening to this or watching this right now and you're thinking, well, this could happen to me, how could I prevent it? What if I go to buy a used car and something like this has been done and it has inferior parts on it? Okay, yeah. So there's this really great tool that Jay and I just reviewed, and it's I hesitate to call it a code.
It's
scanner
so much more.
It's so much more. And this is going to sound like a little bit of an endorsement. It's really not. Like, we just tried this thing out and we love it. I'm talking about the TopScan Pro. I've used it multiple times. I found things on my Toyota FJ that I had forgotten and didn't even know, because everybody, the check engine light doesn't have to be on for you to be able to pull some of that historical information. If you didn't know that, you can do that. So if you want to learn more about this, go watch the video on our YouTube channel, or we've got a link on our website under show specials. And you get one of these things. They're less than $100. They're really great.
I got it.
And you'll know. You would know
Absolutely.
on a used car, you plug that sucker in, and I guarantee you, in this guy's case, those shift issues triggered alerts, and he probably reset the codes and sold it.
I guarantee you, man. And that's how it works. And look, guys, I've been in this business for a long time, and to get a pro level tool for this cost, that is an extremely rare find.
I used it since you and I have talked. I've used it again. That's how much I love this thing. So, my wife has a Lexus, and it started doing this weird thing. Most modern cars, it's a regulation. You have to have tire pressure management, right? But every manufacturer handles them different, and sometimes vehicle to vehicle, like model to model, meaning that your Ford Bronco may not be the same in terms of how it shows you a tire issue as a Ford F-150. And so in my wife's case, it was showing all 4 tires, and there were no pressure readings on any of them. And I'm like, what? Like, all 4 sensors did not go bad at once. And so I started doing some reading. You get about 7 years out of these things, 7 to 10. My wife's is right at about 7 years. And then I read somewhere in one of the forums that sometimes when one sensor stops transmitting, it just pukes and they all don't show up. So I plugged the TopScan Pro in, ran the reader, and it showed me which tire it had lost communication.
That's awesome, dude.
The alternative would have been that I would have had to have gone out and bought this electronic control module that receives the sensor signals. It ain't cheap. I don't know how to put it in. It would have had to have gone to a Lexus mechanic. And we would have guessed, right? And so just knowing that going in, I can go to the mechanic now and go, hey, sensor number 3 is bad, but you can go ahead and replace all 4. If you're shopping for a car, Jay pointed out in our Top Down video, take this in and plug that sucker into the car.
Absolutely.
It'll read the VIN for you. It'll give you... So, I digress. Trying to solve the world's problems here one story at a time, but... if you're going to buy used, you got to really do your homework.
And that is a great tool to do that, and thank you for bringing that up, and we're going to bring it up again. But yeah, so there you go. Just be very careful out there, and I'm going to give a personal story of mine. This has nothing to do with auto parts, but it has everything to do with this story. And I think Keith knows a little bit more about it. I think Keith knows a little bit more about the Amazon policy. Amazon has really tried to cut down and press hard the imitation stuff that's out there, but it's hard, man.
Well, because it's just that when did Amazon become just like knockoff crap?
Well, I had it happen to me, man. I love my Pumas. I have a specific pair of Pumas that I wear. It's the classic suede XLs, and where I'm at, it's you have to travel a pretty decent distance to get to a store that might offer these. And so I went to the Puma store, and I saw the cost of them, and I said, well, let's see if Amazon carries them, and Amazon did. So I ordered them from Amazon, and I got them. They look on the outside like what I was replacing. But as I started to wear them and feel them, and as they aged, I could tell that they were a knockoff. They had to be a knockoff. There's no question. And they were about half the price of what was on the Puma store. So there you go. If something's typically half the price of what it should be, it's probably too good to be true. And that's exactly what we're talking about right here. Be very careful. While it might look like it, internally, the makeup of it, the materials being used, all of those sorts of things can cost you a lot of money if installed inside of an engine or inside of a transmission. This guy was lucky with this thing because it was just a valve that can be replaced, external valve. So anyway, so thank goodness for great technicians that go dig deep after things like this, and he got to the root cause.
Yeah, not all techs
Nope.
are created equal. If you find a good one, you stick with them
Right.
for sure. So yeah. I'm just thinking about all the hate mail we're gonna get because we put a video out years back on should I buy aftermarket parts,
Oh.
remember? And we were trying to stay neutral, but it was, taking the stance that in some cases aftermarket's
We're not telling
fine.
you what to do, right, Keith? We're not telling you where you should go. We're just saying, hey, you might be careful because we know a thing or two.
You guys are all just a bunch of, you posers up there. Just,
Oh, yeah. That's all. We're just content creators. That's what we do, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a dumb thing to do. I bet you wouldn't have done anything like this if Mom and Dad were here.
All right. So
Oh, come on, Beeve.
speaking of, I don't know, man. I'm going to have an opinion. Speaking of dumb things to do.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this new Mazda logo change?
I'm not like over the top about it, but there's a lot of them doing the same thing that they're doing, and I get it, but I just think we're in, from a marketing standpoint, and that's all this is. There's no other reason to make a change. Now Mazda, where we're going with this, has just recently updated their logo, and which obviously will equate to the emblems on the cars. VW did the same thing recently. They went to this just flat, and it's
Nissan.
It's just technology that's out there, and I'm not gone are the days of seeing a Cadillac with a hood ornament or that was art, man. I mean, those years of those vehicles with those hood ornaments, and even just the calligraphy used in say the Chevrolet name or Cadillac or Buick or any of them, man, for that matter, was just beautiful. It was more defining of the vehicle itself, I think. It added a little bit of class to it, where now I just don't think that this really even matters anymore. And I don't think Mazda's given a crap about it because, they've changed their logo like 16 times, which is the most out of any manufacturer.
So, yeah. So the irony here is yesterday was bringing Side Shot home from band camp, and we were behind a Mazda, and it had remember it was like a cartoon villain looking M kind of thing that they did, right? Like not too long ago.
I don't know if where you're at in that story, all of them, every single one of them, if you scroll down, if you want to show our listeners or the people that might be watching.
Okay, here. Help me out here. Yeah. Let me get this up on screen. Good call out.
Show
Jay.
everybody the history of this.
Yeah. So is this
That's
what
I'm
you're
talking about,
right
brother.
here?
There you go.
So I guess the problem that I have with this is, and the one I was talking about was this 2000. The one that ended
2015.
in
15.
18. Yeah,
Right.
15 to 18. They were real similar there. But if you take the background circle out of it, which a lot of them started doing, and I know these are subtle changes, but classic timeless designs don't. My personal feeling is they don't need to change every. It cheapens the brand. Every time that you change the body style on a vehicle, it cheapens. Think about it. BMWs, your higher end automobiles, they do not overhaul their body designs every 3 or 4 years. It's
That's right,
decades
yeah.
sometimes, right? And I don't know, man. I just feel like this is kind of like a throwaway car thing. Like, what the hell are these? What are they doing? What? I don't even.
I was just saying,
sorry.
it is exactly that. The market has changed. The automotive industry, the automakers, period, are struggling, man. And I think that they're, I'm not even real sure that all of them even really know what they are or what their real focus is anymore. I mean, 3 years ago, everybody was all in on the EVs, and now all of a sudden we're pulling back. And, how do you market to people, and so I guess simple things.
Mm-hmm.
I guess somebody's sitting in a boardroom saying, well, let's change the logo then. Let's see if let's see.
Oh yeah, that'll do it. That'll get us some
Exactly.
more sales. Let's change the logo. It's like Ford hasn't really messed
no
with
need
their. Now we did a story on GM when they went from all caps to lowercase. A couple of years ago now or whatever. But I mean, I just feel like if it's they're timeless if they're good.
They are. And honestly, for me, I think that out of all of the ones that we were just showing our fans, and once again, folks, if you're listening to this podcast, we do have a video podcast over on our YouTube channel. So just go to youtube.com/PartsCounterGurus or just go right to our website, PartsCounterGurus.com. All the links to all this stuff is there. And you can see these logos that we're talking about. I will go. Okay.
I'll do you one better. Okay. But no, finish your thought, and then I'm going to pile on to this at the end.
Simplicity in certain cases works, but cheaping out does not. And this is such an obvious on the cheap change. I mean, just if you don't believe, go look at what VW did now to their logo. It's just a white. It's a light. That's all it is. It's not even. It doesn't pop out at you like they used to. Look, when you're looking at an Audi, for example, it's an Audi. Those logos are pretty cool. I love that, right? Yep.
Yeah, the rings, right?
So, and you know what? You could turn these Mazda logos kind of, upside down. It kind of reminds you of like Infinity too, doesn't it?
It does a little bit.
There'd be a lot of copying in the auto sector these days. A lot of copy. I mean, Hyundai with their H, similar to Honda's. It's just, come on, guys, get original. It's almost like the automotive industry has turned into the music industry. We can't write new shit for some reason.
Well, Taylor Swift,
right?
can,
Yeah,
but she gets kicked out of the country.
But man, when I'm hearing covers that are so bad,
I know
why. What are you doing, man?
Well, I don't know, man. I just know we can't go on this way.
We cannot.
It's time to live separate lives. All right, where were we?
That's right. Absolutely.
How many times has that one been covered? Okay. I was just Dwight Yoakam covered it. Of course, Elvis probably made it famous. All right. I said I was going to pile onto this.
Let's have it.
Now I'm distracted with covers. Who's done a cover lately that... All right. Before I go down that rabbit hole. So we mentioned a few shows back that Jay's been pondering a new car, and he's been getting closer to this anytime now, someday soon. Jay's thinking he's in the market as he mentioned. And Jay, I don't know if you know this or not, but we posted a couple polls. One's on our YouTube channel in the community section, and then we did another one on Instagram. Mm-hmm. What Jay's vehicle should be? What's Jay's next vehicle going to be? Now, if you guys, this logo thing's going to be a factor because you don't want to buy something that is going to be out of style, right? Soon. So we got to factor in the logo change game, and so I want you guys to think about this before you make your recommendations. If you want to throw your hat in the ring, go over to the YouTube tab. There's a community section.
Yep.
Okay, and the poll is posted right there. So youtube.com/PartsCounterGurus, and there's a little community tab. Click on community, and you can see the poll. So Jay, right now I'm just going to give you the result.
Yeah.
You want me to? Okay. So we got about a 50-50 split between a Ford Bronco and a Hyundai Santa Cruz. So we're not. The good news or bad news it's not a car. Right. It's not a sedan. However, if I read the comments, you get crazy stuff like 1961 Suburban and 2009 Toyota Tacoma manual. So very, very specific here, right? right? Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I'll tell you.
But what's interesting to me is nobody recommended a car. They're all
Right.
SUVs or trucks.
I think I think we've become that society too, because I think everybody understands the versatility of what those things are, trucks and SUVs. I mean, look, we've talked about it. I drive a 2-door hardtop Mini Cooper S, right? 2014. Great car. It's a go-kart. It has absolutely zero freaking purpose. It doesn't. It's got a back seat, but it doesn't. You can't sit in it. You can't put people back there. I mean, maybe a couple of babies, but that's about it, you know. And even the babies would be putting their lives at risk because it's so dadgum small, man. So SUVs, I've driven quite a few. The Nissan, there's a couple of Nissans recently, and I drove that new Tacoma. But you're right. Those two suggestions are specific, and here's what I gather from both of those. Those are extremely rare finds. You think about that. Manual transmission on the Tacoma and that year, and then the year specific on the Burb. Two awesome vehicles. Period.
So I said I was going to try to go through this whole podcast and be constructive and helpful. And no different here. I'm not going to deviate from the plan. Don't worry, everybody. I am a little bit disappointed. I am truly disappointed that none of you suggested the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile.
I would.
I feel like there's a write-in
option. Totally drive that if you paid me. Right, which honestly, remember a couple years ago they ran an ad. They were looking for Wienermobile drivers, right, to drive all over the country for like a year. You were getting paid for it. You were part of the PR group, and it sounded fun. Yeah, one thing I don't know if you got though. Surely you got free hot dogs every day.
I mean, they were always parked outside of grocery stores.
Why surely they're grilling hot dogs, giving hot dogs away. They should be. So there, that's funny. Maybe we should have another poll on what is the most iconic logo out there.
Yeah, well, you just
leave us a comment. Just leave us a comment, man. Tell you what, man, get old Boomhauer on that stuff. Say, man, I'll tell you what, man, that dang old Ford emblem's something else.
Interestingly enough, and I actually respect this about these guys.
King of the Hill guys?
No. The segue, Jay, that you're stepping on. Recaro seats, the racing seats, don't really have a logo. It's just always been their name. Yeah. Like, you just see Recaro on the back of the seat, right? Like, what should our logo be? And they were like, I don't think it really matters. Well, just make good racing seats.
Immediately, Recaro is, to have a car on the lot with that name on the seat, you knew you were getting a great seat. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah. And in a way, just seeing that name Recaro was its own logo, right? Like, you just saw
like
the
Ferrari.
word Recaro and you went, oh.
Ferrari, same way. There are. That's what I was saying. It's like, back in the day with the automotive influences of the calligraphy and just the hood ornaments and stuff. Guys, feel free to leave a comment on who the heck has had the best hood ornament back in the day. There's tons of them. There's some beautiful ones.
That's another poll.
So
Spirit of Ecstasy has to be at or near the top. Now, Jay? Little trivia for you here. Where's my trivia music?
Okay.
I don't know. So, Spirit of Ecstasy. What automotive? Don't Google it. Don't. You're Googling it. You cheater. All right, well, go ahead now since you've Googled it.
I know this, but I can't remember.
That's
Rolls
Royce.
I was going to say not Benz, but there's another one.
You're going to go Bentley.
Like that. Yeah, but I don't know why I wasn't thinking of Rolls Royce, but there you go. I knew it was one of those.
It's the it looks like an angel with wings that you can see the
There's also, and I can't remember. I want to say it's Buick, maybe. that had the
Yeah.
the Indian,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
Which was just
Correct.
absolutely gorgeous,
Yes.
man. That's
Yep.
art, dude. I mean, can you imagine what it must have
Yeah.
been like to have been a designer back in those days? To have
Back when you could be artistic without
Right.
worrying about how many sales this is going to cost
Yes.
us to the middle of the road crowd that needs a soccer mobile. Yeah.
and now it's just like we're phoning it in, man. You know, so it's like
Yeah.
bringing back the McRib every 6 years.
So
You know,
so Recaro is going bankrupt. And I want to get into how this could possibly happen, because these are not just high-end aftermarket seats. You can get these things in OEM suppliers that offer you higher-end packages. BMW, Honda, Ford. I think the Roush stuff that Ford did had Recaro seats in it, if I'm not mistaken. How do you supply, and I've seen this happen in the RV industry, how do you supply to all these OEMs and sell as a third party and go
Right.
bankrupt? Like, what is going
Right.
on there? This is a German company.
Yep, they are a German company, and from
How can this happen, man?
well, they were bought up. For starters, they were having economic issues. Obviously, when I'm reading this, it says that the employees were surprised by this bankruptcy move because they have postponed or completely waived their pay for years to
mean,
contribute to the
what?
economic stabilization of the company.
I know this is Germany, but what?
Now it's a very small company. 215 employees. But layoffs are definitely likely, is what they say. What is the group? Let's see here. Yeah, so
Auto Build?
no.
You're
Another.
talking- Auto Build.
Yeah,
was
yeah,
the
yeah.
news
So
source, yeah.
it's another auto.
You're talking about the group that
Yeah.
owns the Recaro brand.
Recaro's the biggest name. Look, Recaro's the biggest name in automotive seating, and in addition to being the most popular aftermarket seat maker, they say it also supplied all the OEMs like Ford, Honda, BMW, and more.
Raven.
Nope, there you
Sorry
go.
for interrupting you. Raven Acquisition.
Yep,
you sent
yep.
me on a task.
I knew.
Jay.
I knew it was
had to
there
go
because I
get
read it.
I'm back here. I got the newspaper and
Well,
one of your slippers. It's only got a
Look,
little bit of dog
the,
poop.
The
but
name
hey.
gives it away. I mean, the Raven is associated with death, correct? Okay,
Right,
so
sure. Yeah.
and here's the problem with this: they are a private investment firm called Raven Acquisitions LLC. What is their job, Keith?
Nevermore.
That's good, man. I love it.
don't know.
But I mean, their whole sole purpose is to buy up, invest, buy up, and then trim the fat. I mean, it's all about
Sure.
making money. They're
Yeah.
not in the business to, be there for 30 years supplying an iconic piece of automotive history anymore. You know, they don't care. It's just that's where the automotive industry
Yeah.
has gone. Suppliers like this, they're not the only ones that have gone through this. Hey, dude, I'm on the wrong side. I was about to say I was on the wrong side of the bed again. Man.
God damn it.
But
It's the software,
I know,
you guys.
I know.
I can't help
so
it.
for those of you who are listening and you want to see that in action, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Parts County Guru, or just go to our website, partscounty.guru.com.
I mean, we could go full on Hollywood Squares, and I could put the news article on the
yes,
left
there you
side.
go.
Remember that when they would zoom in on the square and it would be like so
I do
uptight,
recall that. Yeah.
tight shot.
Yeah, I don't mind. I like the features on the software. It's good. So we have fun with it. But the bottom line is, guys, this is the history of the automotive industry right here. Recaro. They've been part of it since I've been in the industry. And I've been in the industry for over 45 years. Okay? Period. And I'm a young guy. Exactly, man. Anyway, it's sad to see this happening to them. It is a competitive industry, as Keith and I have covered the SEMA show, and Recaro is not the only one in the business, so there will be somebody that will fill that void.
All right, I got an idea.
Okay.
I got an idea. Because I said I was going to try to do this whole show with positive
Right, okay.
contributions.
I'm listening.
Okay. So, first of all, it's important to clarify that bankruptcy does not necessarily mean going
Truth.
out of business. Bankruptcy means that they are filing for protection from their creditors because they can't
Right.
pay all their bills. So they are filing for legal protection, and then there's a process with that they have to go through to try to break. GM filed for bankruptcy, and they didn't go out of business. That was
Yeah,
what,
Delphi
2008? Something
came
like
in,
that?
stepped in, and they had
Okay.
a lot of contributors to coming back. Especially
this
you
is
and
my
me.
idea.
I mean, they didn't call them government motors for nothing. So
Right. It's yes. Yeah. Well said, Jay. So the solution that I have is maybe if Raven Investments is truly interested in saving the brand, Recaro, the brand, put them back up for sale and let a true automotive legacy company.
you know who?
Now, that could get dicey because if somebody like Ford tries to buy them, then BMW is going to go, well, we ain't buying parts from Ford.
Have
or
you
whatever.
Googled to find out what their worth is, by chance?
Let's
Because that would be a very important thing to me, because then you could have a plethora of people coming out of the woodwork that could be the ones. So remember, it's a very small segment of the
Yeah.
Recaro,
Yeah,
because they're
yeah.
into aircraft seating and all that. So Recaro itself is many things, but this segment, go
I
ahead.
got it right here. This is, again, to my point of how something like this can happen. And I think to your point, too, Jay. Now, this is according to
Yeah,
Wikipedia.
it's
The
all we got,
Recaro
dude.
Group, as a whole, reported a revenue of, now this is euros, I think. It's the symbol that looks like a backwards
Yeah,
C
yeah,
with
yeah,
some lines
yeah.
through it. $524 million in 2023, which is a 25% increase from 2022. 25% increase in revenue, and a year later you're filing for bankruptcy. I don't think it's being run right. So, to your point, it's still quite valuable, but if they got the right leadership, I think this could be saved. I think they're going to have to sell the company.
Where the
to
hell is Elon on something like this?
Trying to figure out how to get all those Cybertruck recalls turned around.
Right. So did you look at Recaro Automotive or just Recaro? Because
I Googled it.
Okay, because
I
it's
Googled it.
there's three.
Yeah, no, this is the group, and this is the all
Okay,
of
so
them
because
combined.
now I can tell you right now where the automotive side is not contributing that much to that, because you've got aircraft
they've
seating,
got aircraft seating,
gaming,
they've got
and child
Yeah.
safety.
Yeah.
So, Recaro itself, but it's like Dodge, Plymouth, Chrysler, right?
Well, 2022, 55% growth over 2021.
But where was the growth? What segment of Recaro, period?
I mean, fair point, and I know you're going back
Yeah,
to
I mean,
that.
it's like what GM did too. I mean, you had Pontiac, you had Buick, you have Chevrolet, you've got GMC, you had Hummer, you had all of these badges under the
Yeah.
GM.
Okay, well, still. So you can't make the automotive side profitable? Are you kidding me? Like, there are way more opportunities
There is, but it is definitely a specific segment of that industry. And like I said, we've attended SEMA. We've covered SEMA. There are other companies doing the same thing out there that, maybe,
Yeah.
because they are a small segment of the contribution to the bottom line at the end of the day, I'm with you. I would try to make that attractive and sell that off to somebody that could keep that going as a Recaro brand, because, I mean, you got to know somebody like Jay Leno is sitting there going, dude, you guys are stupid. That's Recaro. They are so well known in the industry. So, we see them every year at SEMA. They're there. And not
Right.
only are they
That's right.
there, they're there on everything. right? There's a lot of Recaro being used
Yeah.
in absolutely.
Neil uses
dude.
them?
I mean, exclusively. Yeah.
In his builds.
So
Yeah.
I wish him. Keith and I both have the same opinion on these guys. We really hope that they will. They'll survive this bankruptcy and get their ducks in a row. It is a relatively small company again, with only 215 employees for that segment of the company. I think is what it said. So that's pretty. If you think about it, that's pretty small. So.
Jay, if they started using Corinthian leather in those things.
Oh, man, that's what we need. We need Khan to come back and save it.
Right. So, unfrunk it up.
Okay. Unfrunk that
unfrunk it
stuff,
up.
man. So, are you getting frunky with it?
So, Elon's too busy to fix Recaro. He's got his own
I know,
recalls to
man.
deal with.
Big dummy.
We got, I don't know why this is happening, but the EV side in general, not just Tesla, the sales have slowed. I mean that in a sincere comment. Like, I'm not sure the reason behind it.
I got to say, the initial cost of the vehicle itself is definitely off-putting. Then I just think that a lot of people have really realized that we still have a long way to go with the infrastructure. I mean, they've made vast improvements. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think we're where we need to be yet for that to be a major deal. Now, on the other hand, China has just like gone haywire on EVs. That EV market is growing exponentially. My advice to the U.S. automotive market is to go look at what is China doing. What are they telling their people that makes it attractive for them to buy an EV? What is it? Do the studies. I'd like to see the study on that. What is it? I mean, for us, it's not for the lack of. I mean, you had governors, the entire West Coast committing to it. You had the Biden administration committing to an infrastructure bill to put more EV stations in on the commercial side as well, because of the logistics side and the commerce that's involved in that. I mean, what are we doing wrong to where the sales of those are slowing so dramatically? You ever wonder that? I mean,
Yeah, I have. I just, I don't know, man. It's because gas prices they've come down a little bit, and I would be tempted to point to that, but they're still up there.
Well, speaking of gas prices, why is it that in let's say South Dakota, the average price of a gallon of just standard grade unleaded with 10% ethanol is under $3 in South Dakota, but then you go down to Tennessee and it's nearly $4.
So I actually had a friend that used to own, like recently owned a C-store, like a gas station C-store. And it was in Tennessee in I'm not going to say, I don't know. I don't need to say the location.
No.
It doesn't really matter. You know where it is. It's one of the most prominent counties in the country. And literally half a mile apart, you drive across the county line and they're like 75, 80 cents cheaper on one county than another. And there's no more taxes in one county than another. There's no more road tax. It's not a tax thing. Like from state to state, it can be, right? And I think that is the case in a lot of states, like on the West Coast versus South Dakota, where you said. But county to county, and he was like, literally, he was like, just because we can. We literally just because we can.
Yeah, it's true. I know that. And what always gets me is that when, they will say that because the cost went up, and they're literally pumping gas into the in-ground tanks, but they jack the price up. It's just
Yeah.
I don't know. I get so upset about it, and that is something, guys. Leave a comment on how do we standardize that price across the board, across the country, period.
So could it be, Jay, that it's not so much gas prices in terms of the declining EV sales? Could it be a quality issue? Could it be I pointed out to you, and this wasn't on a show or on a recording, but GM started doing these commercials where they said, a little thing they threw in at the end was, and a dealership right down the street, right? Whereas, if you own a Rivian or you own a Tesla, you may have a hard time getting it serviced, right? And now you've got this situation with Tesla where they're recalling 1.8 million of their cars, Model 3. It's all the sedans. Actually, the Model X and Y are in there too, but just not the Cybertruck. And it's the hood not staying latched.
Right. And the other side of that is that there is no indicator that tells you that it's not latched.
Other than the fact that you can't see
exactly. How that would be a wake up call, right? Which that's something myself that I find very odd that they were even able to pass the on highway tests or requirements. I mean, I can't believe that a hood that's electrically operated like that has a server or a servo to little actuator to kind of to help with that. But I guess that's what the problem was, is there's little deformation going on.
So could this be similar to our first topic of discussion today, where we talked about quality of aftermarket parts? And even though this is not an aftermarket part, it's made in an area of the world where a lot of these aftermarket parts are made and the quality is not
You hit the head
one.
of the nail, bud. And here's why I say that. Because if you look at the sources, if you look at the number of recalls on these vehicles, or the number of vehicles that are affected by this that they've already documented, the majority of them are in China. And I saw the question when I was reading this. Well, one wonders why that is. Well, here's why. Because in China, they're probably getting supplied that part by a Chinese manufacturer because it's cheaper to keep it in country. You're not paying tariffs and shipping costs and all that stuff. It's right there. Same thing for the U.S. market or the European market. It's cheaper on a component like that, because components like that you can have made in different parts of the world for those specific factories that are in different parts of the world. So it totally makes sense. And this ties back into what Keith and I have talked about many times at the automotive manufacturing level, which is they order supply to keep the production lines going just in time. The arrival is just in time to keep the production rolling. Why is that? Lowering overhead costs. You don't need millions of dollars worth of stuff sitting on the shelf. We just need it just in time because it costs money to buy it to begin with. The banks frown on you sitting on inventory. And if you're a purchasing manager, you certainly understand how critical it is to rotate stock, right? You're the one buying the part.
Yep.
You're putting the forecasts out there to go buy those parts. You're letting the vendor know. You're cutting POs. Your organization is signing the checks. And if you're not moving the product, somebody's getting a finger pointed at them. That is why the OEM does what they do. It's very smart. This is why the vehicles that are affected are mainly in China, is because their supply is probably coming out of their own country, and it makes total sense. But what Tesla has to do, because this is how we roll, is you have to do a massive recall on all the models that are affected. And luckily it is an EV with modern technology where they can push a software update, which will fix the problem. and then it will now have an indicator letting you know that it is not latched.
Right. So recall's a good thing. Like the fact that they're doing that is a good thing.
I've said it over and over again. The automotive industry has turned into the smartphone industry. You just push. We'll just push an update. We'll push an update.
Patch it later.
You know?
Yeah. So quality control needs to be closer to job priority one, I think, in this case. I'm trying to stick to my mantra here of offering proactive solutions. And I think, Jay, that's not true for just Tesla.
No.
And man, I am so tired of this Chrysler thing. Like it just never changes. And I feel like, and I'm talking, we're gonna talk for a second here about some hot drama with Stellantis. But man, since I've been a kid, this has been the way. It's like ever since Lee Iacocca left, this crap started. And actually, it started before he was there, and he turned it around for him. And what I'm talking about, everybody, is Stellantis is looking at perhaps having to discontinue certain models like Chrysler, Maserati, etc. And that's not uncommon. I mean, Jay pointed out earlier in this program, GM's done that. They've all done it, okay? But Stellantis just has to hold the record for a number of times they've circled the drain with decisions
Well,
like
that would be because what does the guy CEO is from the band Tavares or something like that? Is that right? Yeah.
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 So, I mean, I feel like they're making this way hard. And I know it's not fair of me to oversimplify this, right? Like, you be CEO for a day. Okay. Mission accepted. I'll take that.
I'd like to see you do that.
Yeah. But, thanks, man. But I feel like it's not as hard as they're making it. And I feel like it starts with quality control being at or near
100%.
the top. Just saying.
How many times have you asked me that question? Where does the buck stop? It starts at top. It stops up top, man. Absolutely correct.
Look.
The bottom line is Stellantis is doing what they have to do to move product, and the Chrysler brand is way down. And don't forget, out of that acquisition from FCA. Which, by the way, was Fiat Chrysler before. Now it's Stellantis, which covers all of that. And even Fiat is struggling. Fiat does not do well in the U.S. It does extremely well in Europe. So,
yeah, well, that's
right.
It was an
now,
Italian
I will tell you
brand,
this.
right?
I will guarantee you that if you look at the figures, I bet Chrysler does pretty good in China. I know that Buick does. GM does well in China. So there are certain markets that Fiat does really well. So what do? You stop selling them in the U.S. Why? Why sell them in the U.S. then? Chrysler is a name that goes back a century or more. And it's hard. It would be hard to see it go away, just like we had to see Pontiac go away, on the GM side. I was so disappointed with that. You're like, surely there's got to be a way to, I can understand letting Saturn go, right? But when you're letting Pontiac go, some of your, but you're keeping Chevrolet, but you're letting Pontiac go. When Pontiac, I thought, was just as dominant in that muscle car era as Chevrolet was. It was hard for me to see that go, but that's what they have to do here. They have to let Chrysler go, be done with it. Ram's doing well, Dodge is doing well. Jeep's
and gone doesn't mean gone forever. We've seen brands come back
DeLorean.
from the dead. DeLorean. What's the SUV wagon that VW owns that they're bringing back as an
the
electric
Scout.
version? The
Gosh,
Scout.
we haven't heard much news on those guys lately, have we? We need to look into
No,
that.
we haven't. But I have another theory here, and I just did some quick research. I know it looks like I wasn't listening,
I know
Jay.
you were.
I was listening. I looked up just the Challenger, just the Dodge Challenger. I didn't include the Charger. I just looked at the Challenger. That's the two-door sports car that they made until last year, I think. Under the Dodge badge. And I thought, yeah, Stellantis has been all gung-ho on the EV thing and the economy thing, and they've put all their eggs in the fuel efficiency and, like low cost of operation. And in some parts of the world, that matters more than it does here in the United States. And I thought, well, was it really smart to kill off an iconic car like the Challenger, right? Because it's a cool little car. Like, I've rented them. They're fun to drive. They're sleds, but, the Hellcats and all that, right? They're fun. So in 2022, they had a 1% increase in sales over 2021, and they sold around 5,500 of them. They sold more than double the number of Camaros, right? And then in 2023, they sold 44,960, so it was about 10,000 less. It was a 16% decrease, but it was tied virtually for the Mustang, with the Mustang in third quarter sales. Yeah. Virtually tied. And you killed it off. Not every month, not every quarter is going to be a winner. I don't think that means you kill the car off, especially a car like that. And I'm sure that car was profitable for them.
Biden administration saying we're going to roll back this. You got to be electric. Yeah. So
they just volunteered to cut their finger off.
I mean, those were
they didn't even wait to be told.
Just like a Jeep, the Jeep fandom. Dodge has got their own, fandom as well. Those Chargers, those Challengers. People love that stuff. It's iconic, just as Jeep is. And like I said too, guys, it's hard sometimes to watch this happen because Keith and I have been in this industry a long time, and we watched it happen in the early 2000s where they had to downsize, and that was GM being the main culprit in that and starting to cut brands. They're not Stellantis is not the only company like this to start cutting brands. But here's what you do see, and I think there is a lesson to be learned here: is you don't get too big. And here's several examples of how other brands, more than one brand works. Toyota Lexus, right? Nissan Infiniti.
Yep.
Ford Lincoln Mercury. I mean, don't get so big to where, it's VW is one of those anomalies out there that has so many brands that they've been able to get past that problem like Stellantis is now having in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know why that is, but is it a marketing thing, or is it just that they have such a loyal fan base?
I think they're trying to please the wrong people.
I'm with you on that. I have to agree with you on that. But like I said, because you look at there are companies out there, Honda and Acura. There's another example that it works. And Hyundai, Genesis, Kia, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to pick one. Like, if you're gonna go super fuel economical, get rid of the gas guzzler, Chargers and Challengers and all that. Okay, fine. But do a better job on quality products on the stuff you sell. The mediocrity.
Let's dumb this down in an analogy, right? When you walk in, let me ask you a question. When you walk into a restaurant and they lay a menu down in front of you,
okay,
and it says on the outside of the building, best burgers in the country, right? And then you walk in and there is a menu that is 4 pages, and it ranges from scrambled eggs and bacon and to fried chicken and pizza and all this stuff.
Pizza, yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I've seen people do this. I don't understand.
You work on specific things and you do it well, and then you survive. It is not just any one industry that you could say that about. So when I sit down at a restaurant and they throw me down a menu that's like a book thick, I'm a little worried about the meal that's coming out. Period. Because if you're saying you're all about burgers, but I want to come in for the wings.
Yeah. Yeah, try the omelet.
Yeah.
Try the Denver omelet.
Exactly.
Best burger in town.
Best burger.
Right?
People do that. I remember one guy went to a bachelor party once, and you know where this place is. This is, I don't even know if they're still in business or not, but it's between 2nd and 1st Avenue in Nashville, in downtown Nashville, and it's called the Beer Cellar.
It's gone.
Did that get blown out because of the that bombing? Was that part of that?
I
remember that
was
the guy
by
blew
it
up on Christmas
after the bombing, and it was still there in building structure, but the beer cellar
you had
was
Hooters,
gone. And
Hooters
that's too bad,
upstairs,
'cause
and
it was-
the beer cellar was in the basement.
Yeah.
Well, here's where
Yeah.
I'm going with that is, like, among the 20 people that we had with us for this bachelor party, we go into the beer cellar, and their logo is 81 different great craft beers and one bitchin' jukebox, right? That's what it is.
Yeah. And you get the Bud Light.
Exactly. There was one guy, man,
Yep.
that was with the group, and he orders a Bud Light. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, dude, 81 different beers, and you're getting a Bud Light? I said, I'm not with you, man, at all. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. So, yeah, I hope that there's no telling what's going to happen with Chrysler. We'll see what happens. But anyway, Stellantis continues to be a yo-yo.
I'm sticking to my guns. I'm gonna fix this. Give me a chance. I'll just for a week.
Okay.
You know, I think we can turn it around.
Now,
but if I don't get that opportunity, fix your quality control issues and stop selling cars for the wrong reasons.
Right. Absolutely. So we got a little something we want to talk about today that touches a tender spot for especially one of our good friends. And Chuck, thank you for sharing your feelings about what we're about to talk about, because it certainly sparked some interest with us as well, because we are in your shoes, my friend. So what are we talking about, Keith?
This is a combination. It's a road issue. So we're going to mix in a little bit of the left lane, or the fast lane, if you want to call it that, and the hogging of said lane, and just in general, the super aggressive driving that you get from so many people.
You know we're talking about you drafters.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm going to, no different, this one versus the rest of the segments today. I've got a solution at the end.
Okay, I can't wait.
I do. I've been working on this for decades, Jay, and the idea actually popped into my head. In fact, I may have pitched this to you before.
I don't know, man.
Back when we met and we were working at the same company, I was sitting in traffic, and I've refined it over the years, and we got a little nudge from Chuck that you mentioned, and I think today's the day I'm going to drop it on the world. So let's let's start with one of our we call him the fifth Beatle. He threw out he's like, you guys ever want to talk about, like, you know, what's going on with all he had some personal stories, some aggressive drivers, and he was like, but not the Tesla guys, isn't that weird? And we were like, well, it's probably because they're on autopilot, and their cars aren't 6 inches from your bumper because it's the car that's keeping the range right. And he said, just first of all, like, there's so many places to go, it seems worse in certain area of the country than others. And I would agree with that. And I would agree, I don't know, in as a whole, the Pacific Northwest is a little bit more laid back when I come to visit, Jay, than not saying they don't have aggressive drivers.
No, they're here, but our drivers here tend to be a little bit more courteous. And there's not a whole lot of flipping people off. I mean, there's still road rage incidents, in the Seattle-Tacoma area. But you got to understand, there's only one freeway going through there, and there's a lot of population in Seattle-Tacoma. And if you're going north or south of Seattle, you got to go through Seattle. So Seattle tends to get the brunt of the problems. But where I'm at, yeah, we have a lot of traffic, but the one problem that I have back where, let's say, when I lived in Tennessee or living in Florida, and Keith, you can attest to this, you've driven a lot in Florida. It's merging, right? People seem to just get so, you're just an asshole by not letting someone merge in. I don't know how else to put that. What are you trying to prevent from happening?
So this is a sensitive one for me because I think you're right. Okay. Like just trying to race somebody or block them or whatever. Unless Jay, there's like a lane closure or something, and I can see that guy intentionally just cut out and drove on the shoulder for.
That's an
this
equal
selfish
asshole.
nature. Yeah. So the selfish part of it, which is basically I'm the most important person here today, and I feel like that's the first part of the problem. So this is a complex problem. That's definitely part of it. Is that we've lost our ability to empathize with others. You know, you and I are the same, and the last thing I want is to be the problem of the source of somebody else's frustration. Like, I do not want to be noticed. But I had the other side of that coin is that everybody's got this view that like the world revolves around them. So last week was in my truck. It's a 3/4 ton Ford, and this guy's merging. I'm on the interstate, and he's in a sedan, and he's coming on the on-ramp, and he's merging. And I let off the gas, and I sat there for 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds. The guy's just right next to me. Like, I'm slowing down. He's just slowing down, not paying attention. And I went, okay, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm going. And you know what happened? He ran out of line. He gets behind me. He stomps on the gas, pulls up next to me, and everybody in that car is flying me the bird.
Yeah, so it's your fault. Yeah, I get it.
Dipshit, I gave you 10 seconds.
Right.
What else do you need?
Yeah, people are idiots, man.
Right?
Okay. Another finding. There's that.
So there's that. There's the I'm unaware. I'm the smartest person in the room. Because I didn't notice it. It didn't happen. The world revolves around me.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's so common, right?
Yeah.
So common. You're just trying to be courteous, right?
Yep.
So traffic jams, which you're very familiar with living where you live. It's almost it is a task that you just absolutely dread having to deal with going into downtown Nashville. I know that. It's horrible.
Oh, yeah.
And it was
It's
when
bad.
I lived there. And that's been many years ago. So I can't imagine how bad it is now with all the people moving
Yeah.
there. Stop moving to Nashville, everybody. There's no need to.
We're closed.
There's nothing there for you. But the traffic jams going home, right? And if people would just back off and then just kind of coast and creep at a slow pace.
Yeah.
And then when the vehicles in front of you start to take off, don't go as fast as you can up to their bumper because you're going to end up slamming on brakes.
It's
So
it's gonna smooth.
I'm one of those people where I like to basically pace the traffic because I know that it will, pacing myself and then leaving a little bit of room in between me and them. That way I'm not hitting my brakes and it just works, people. It's a proven fact that works, right? So
Okay.
I'm
with you.
participating in this, and I'm trying to help everybody around me. But you, sir.
Okay,
you, sir,
yeah, okay. I knew this guy. I was waiting for this guy to show
You,
up.
sir.
Yes.
Who decides that his car should be able to fit in between me and the guy that I'm trying to give space to. Now I got to back up even further. Now I'm asking myself to you, sir, where the hell are you going?
So I think, again, this goes back to number one. I'm the most important person in the room. Okay. If you don't believe me, go look at COVID, everybody, with the shortage of toilet paper. Did you all really end up needing that much toilet paper?
Right, man.
But you had to have it in case you needed it more than somebody else. Okay. But tied in with number one, factor number one, I'm the most important person here, is factor number two, which is the vehicle safety specs have gotten better and better over the years. Cars are better at collision avoidance. People trust that to the point that they shouldn't, right? It's intended to be a last line of defense, and we use it as our first line of safety. And because of that, the consequences have been removed. And at higher speeds than what you're talking about, Jay, that guy will do the same thing, and he'll end up spinning around and in the ditch sideways or worse in a fatality accident. And it's like there's no comprehension that one leads to the other.
Yeah. I'd like to...
And...
it is disregard and disrespect is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So the left lane problem. And I'm to be very specific about this, I'm talking about the person that gets in the fastest lane available and then decides that they're going to be the pace car, which means you're not allowed to pass them even if you want to go 10, 15 miles an hour faster than them. Okay? So that, I think, also is connected to I'm the most important person in the room. I own this lane. You're behind me. Right? I think left lane jockey is what I always refer to him as. There are states now that have signs up that say, like, the left lane is for passing only because
I can point those out. Florida was one of the first ones to pass that law, and they will ticket you in Florida. I've seen them do it, man. So if you guys are passing through Florida and you want to try that crap, just look out. You will get pulled over and ticketed for that. They don't like it. But Virginia, Indiana, Arkansas, Georgia, Florida, and Utah are the ones that have no tolerance for that crap. It's interesting.
So I think the third piece of this traffic dilemma pie is the amount of distractions, of anxiety contributing technology that we have in front of us, phones, tablets, calls, and there's all this stuff going through everybody's head. It's like, I've got this and this and this to do, and I've got my phone's going off while I'm driving, and it's chirp, 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 and people are sending me tweets, and I've got text messages and Slacks and Teams and all this. And then we're on work calls and we're driving, and I mean, I do it. I'm talking business sometimes when I'm driving. And we have this increased level of anxiety and aggression that comes from basically a desensitization and an overload of just stuff. You're not in the car just going from point A to B anymore. Like, I feel like this got worse about the time we started getting phones in cars.
Absolutely, 100%.
Right? We went from pay phone to car phone, and I feel like it drastically changed the driving quality around that time.
100% agree with you, man. Could not agree with you more. Absolutely, it coincides with that timeline.
So what I'm saying is,
get off my lawn.
But I feel like there is. Don't discount the amount of kind of the work ethic and the work styles that we have now, and there's so much going on, and it's not just a drive in a car anymore. It's not ever that, it's 17 things happening. And so you're put in this mindset of just scramble, get there, like take the risks. I've got too much, hanging out there to be dealt with.
That's right. You got your Android play, you got Apple CarPlay, all that stuff, and and like you said, with the safety features, you got the steering wheel vibrate in your hands when you're in the wrong, and then you've got the little indicator in your mirror that's letting you know that there's a car coming up. It's a lot going on. It's like being in the cockpit of an airplane now, and you've got all this stuff going on, and frankly, some of you are just not capable of handling that stuff. You shouldn't be driving.
So here is the solution that I've come up with. I think,
I love
time
solutions. Yes, go for it.
Okay. And then I've got to take side shot to his music lesson. But, okay. Came up with this idea almost 2 decades ago. And ironically, from a technology standpoint, the time is right. So here was the idea that I had. I thought, we have technology now where we leave reviews for people. It started with like eBay, and then you got likes on social media and so on and so forth. And then I thought, we have these license plates. It's a unique identifier. You don't need to share the DMV information for people to be able to look it up. But if we could scan that in some way, and then we could leave a like or a dislike.
Right. Sorry.
And if the driver, go ahead, Jay, if the driver gets too many thumbs downs, they get a warning. And if they get, we could continue to discuss what the penalties are. I like the idea that, you get restrictions in certain times of the day, or you get like lane restrictions or something if you get too many, because you're going to be wrongfully accused now and then. But if you get 100 of them, you're driving
Absolutely.
like an asshole.
I
every
agree.
day, right?
I like that.
Okay. So, but the problem that I always had, and the reason that I never brought this to the board, right, or Shark Tank or whatever, was, now you watch, this is the week this comes out, somebody the week after is going to be on Shark Tank with this with my idea. Go ahead. I don't have time. Go ahead. I feel like it's just going to help the world, so go ahead. We have QR codes now, right? So just make it some sort of QR code scannable thing. Everybody knows how to do that with their phone now. It pulls open a site. You don't get to see who's driving the vehicle or any other personal info. You just thumbs up them or thumbs down them. And over the time, that person's average gets factored into what they're allowed to do from a driving perspective. Okay? It becomes a more polite society.
Yeah, well...
And so, who's with me, everybody? Leave it in the comments.
I'm totally
who's
with you, man. And, they don't say that we can't have that type of feature, because all of your auto insurance companies already have devices, offer devices for your vehicle to give you safe driving.
Dude, the DMV is sharing information. I know it for a fact. I've got stuff in the mail that only the DMV knows. Yes, it's absolutely
Before
possible.
we go, and I want people to leave their best name in the comments for what you would call a left lane hog, right? Hog in the left lane, right? So, but in the meantime, I've run across a few that are pretty damn funny. If we've got time, do we have a little time? Can we? Okay,
I have a couple
first
minutes.
One
go.
first, asshole. Right?
Sure.
Top
Straight
of the
to
list.
the point.
But then you've got stuff like Sunday Driver, and then you've got Dip Shift, the Downshift Dumbass, the Short Shift Shithead. Let's see, Lewis Hamelsuck. That's got to be a reference to a NASCAR driver somewhere, man. One Lap Wonder, Danica. We all know where that comes from.
Right.
Let's see. I don't know what that is, man. I don't know, but anyway, Shithead is one. So there you go.
So Jay's right. You guys can contribute. I've read your comments. I think there's some good ones waiting to be posted. Let's hear them. Leave them in the comments. Thank you guys. Jay, I'm going to take us out of here so I can get side shot to
the
his
band.
To his.
He's putting his band back together.
Yes. All right, everybody. Thank you for making us a regular part of your lives. Make sure you support the show. You can do that in a couple ways. Subscribe, tell a friend, click the Amazon link on our website at partscounterguru.com. That will let you, basically, we get an affiliate credit. It doesn't cost you any more. Or,
talking about a dang old internet, man. They're going to click, 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 click.
Or, I'll play that one for you in a minute. Or, go to the show specials tab, use the discount codes, and buy some stuff from there. That'll help us also.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, that dang old internet, man, you just go on there and point and click, get in there and talk about www.com, you got them naked chicks on there, man. You go click, 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 click. It's real easy, man.
Everything but the naked chicks on partscounterguru.com. For my pal Jay over there, I'm Keith. Thank you guys. Be more like Dolly.